Hi, in this video I'll be showing you some hints and tips to get the best out of your tumble dryer. I know people have been using tumble dryers for many years now, but there might be one or two things that I mention that might enable you to get a better drying performance from your clothes. But all I'd do is, just before I start, I'd normally say please subscribe to my YouTube channel, just give us a quick thumbs up. What I do is I talk about household appliances, vacuum cleaners, there's normally a bit of tech in there as well. So just give us a quick subscribe, then we'll make a start. Now this list is in no particular order, but I suppose this is one of the first things you should really think about, and that's before you even open the door on the tumble dryer, are the clothes that you're looking at putting in there, are they suitable to be dried? Now I know for some people think, well, that's pretty basic, isn't it? But I think a lot of people, especially when you've taken things out the washing machine, you just want to get them dry as quickly as possible. You might not have space to get them dry. So putting them in the dryer is a nice, quick, easy solution. But should they really be going in? How many people look at the labels in your clothes to see how they should be dried? I know certainly at home we get a little bit lazy with that. Sometimes things might go on the wrong heat. But these are the things to look out for. So look for these 4 symbols within your clothes, and they just give an indicator as to whether they should go in the tumble dryer or not. So that first one means that yes, you can put it in the dryer. The bottom one here means that you shouldn't put it in the tumble dryer. And then these two will indicate what heat to go on. So that one is recommended on a low heat, and this one has the ability to go on a high heat. So just have a look within your clothing label, because there should be at least one of those to let you know whether they should go in the tumble dryer. If they shouldn't, I know from personal experience before, if you put something in the dryer, then chances are it will shrink. I know there are quite a few clothing items that we've had over the years where, we've not read the label, and I'm sure many people have done it, and then it comes out, you take it out, and then shrunk, which is really, really annoying. The next recommendation is to try and dry similar fabrics together. I know it's tempting when you take a whole load out of the washing machine, you just want to put it in the dryer, just get it done as quickly as possible. But if you've got the ability to try and dry similar fabrics together, then that can make it quite a bit more efficient as well. So if you've got things like cottons or synthetics, things like shirts, so if you're going to say put all your shirts in on one go, if you tumble dry shirts, I know some people don't, then that can actually make it a lot more efficient, and also the performance can be better as well. The third recommendation is try not to dry large single items with small items. And what I mean by that is try not to dry large items, things like duvet covers or bed sheets, so especially as you go up to this, say, king size or bigger than that, with small items, things like underwear. Because what you'll find is some of the small items can get tangled up with the bed sheets. Some people don't actually put things like bed sheets and duvet covers into the dryer. Again, you will find that they can get tangled up within themselves. So I suppose really it's recommended to try and hang them up to dry naturally. Put it on a high spin speed in your washing machine, give it a couple of spins, and then let it hang out to dry. But if you do need to put it in the tumble dryer, if you've not got any space to do that, then either do it on its own, or perhaps stick some other things in there, some larger items. Because what you can find is that if you just put the bed sheet in there, then that can just get tangled up and it takes a lot longer to dry. The fourth recommendation is when you take clothes out of your washing machine, try and just spread them out a little bit. And what I mean by that is when you take it out of the washer, sometimes, this is just an old towel that I've got here, but sometimes when you take them out, they're quite compact, they're quite condensed together. So just spend a moment before you put them in the tumble dryer, just shake them out a bit, just loosen them up, and then pop them in. And what you can find is that really cuts the drying time down, because it's not having to move everything around. There's nothing more annoying than when you put things in, if a majority of the clothes are dry and you've always got something in the middle that you didn't do that with and that's still damp. Number 5, consider using tumble dryer balls. I'll be honest, I've not got anything here to show you, but these are little rubber or plastic balls that you place within the drying load, and what it does is it tries to separate all the clothes, and it can really apparently quicken up the drying process. I have tried some over the years. I must admit I didn't get on too well with them. I think the noise for me, the clanking around, was quite annoying for me. I want to know what you think. Is it something you've tried? Have you had any success with it? Because in theory what it does is it helps to separate all the clothes, and by doing that, that can speed up the drying process. Number 6, and I know it's quite an obvious one, but a lot of people do it anyway, and that's don't overload the machine. Ideally, when you're loading the clothes then, what you want to do is you want to try and make sure that you've got enough space to put your hand at the top. That means that it's roughly 2/3 full as a maximum load, but really what it needs to do is it needs to have room for all the clothes to move around. So there's no point trying to stuff it full in there, because either it will take ages to dry, it will take a lot longer than originally said, or you'll just find that it won't dry at all because everything hasn't got space to move around. And I suppose on the other side, you don't want too small a load. If you only put a couple of items in there, if you've got a sensor tumble dryer, then what it will do is it can struggle to monitor the moisture content in there. Now, number 7 is to use the sensor dry option if you have it on your tumble dryer. Now, what I mean by sensor dry is when you put the clothes into a tumble dryer with the auto sensor or sensor dry as some manufacturers call it, then what it will do is for the first couple of minutes it will actually measure the moisture content within the clothes, and it will know roughly how long to dry for. Now that has a huge advantage rather than this kind of tumble dryer. I mean, these we still do a lot of because some people just want a really basic dryer to perhaps pop in the garage, that they just want to go and put the towels in probably once a week, and then set how long you want it to dry, and then it will do the process. Now that kind of thing is okay, but if it's something you use it on a regular occasion, personally I'd recommend, if you're thinking of buying one, please go for one with a sensor dry. It's a lot more accurate, and what it does is it stops the tumble dryer for drying too long, because there's nothing worse than going to it and then everything is probably creased. It could have been drying for 15-20 minutes too long, and clearly with tumble dryers, because some of them can be quite expensive to run, then that's a waste of money. This is one of the most popular tumble dryers we sell. I'll just show you this as an example of the sensor dry. So what it will do is you actually select how dry you want the clothes. So for example, if you were selecting say cupboard dry, that enables you to take the clothes out straight away and hang them up. Things like iron dry, the main advantage of that program is that it leaves everything slightly damp. So if you were tumble drying shirts or blouses, then pop them in on that program, because what that will do is that enables you to take them out, they're slightly damp, and then you can iron them straight away if you want to. Number 8 is to clean the filter in your tumble dryer. Now, some people say they do it every single time. After every load, they'll go and clean the filter. Other people, sometimes they say, well, what's the filter? And I'm not joking, because we have had a customer with that. And the tumble dryer that they were exchanging it for, they were buying a new one for, the old one wasn't faulty, it's just that they'd never ever cleaned the filter. And that's where the problem lied. So the filter is normally in the front here. It can vary on some tumble dryers. On some older dryers they used to put them towards the back, but majority of tumble dryers it's either just as you open the door, or sometimes it's within the door itself. But clean the filter, so just take it out, and normally, I mean sometimes you can just take the fluff off from the outside, but on this one, just an example, just open it up, all the fluff and the lint, just take it out and get rid of that. If you have got either fire or a wood burner, then it's actually really good as a fire lighter. That's just a little tip there. But as I say, as it is a good fire lighter, what you can also find is that it can catch fire easily. So that's really why you have to keep these clean and maintained. The other thing to look at, when you take this out, have a look down here to see if there's any fluff or lint down here as well. That's an area that some of it can accumulate, and what you'll find is wherever the heating element is, you want to try and keep any fluff or lint away from it, because that's where it can catch fire. So it's not trying to scare you, but it's just trying to be realistic with you that it's something you have to do. Whether you do it after every load, I suppose really depends on the load sizes and everything and what you're putting in there. But to start off with, I'd recommend perhaps not every load, but perhaps every couple of loads. Just have a look in here, because what you'll also find is if you keep the filter clean, then the tumble dryer can breathe more easily and the performance should be a lot better as well. Number 9 is to clean the heat exchanger, or the condenser unit as some people call it. And normally it's based towards the bottom of the tumble dryer. And to take this out, you just unclip that here. So this is an indesit model. Hotpoint on their models, it's very similar to this. So this is what it looks like. It's quite a big unit. The best way is just running it under a tap. You're not going to damage it at all. This is used within the drying process. So this is what is used to change the steam into water. But I won't go into that too technically. But what you can do is just to clean it out, either get a brush just to get the worst off around the outside, but just run it under a cold tap, and then when you finish just pop it back in here. Again, you can find that the performance of the drying will be a lot better once you've cleaned that. On some brands you can find that it's a completely sealed unit as you go up to some of the higher end brands, and what it will do is it will actually use the water that's within the container towards the end of the drying process. It will force it down through the condenser or heat exchanger unit. It will force it through, clean any of the residue out, and then send it back up to the water container at the top. Now that's a brilliant system, because basically what it's doing is it's cleaning the heat exchanger out after every drying load. Now I know in reality you're not going to do that, but I suppose similar to things like the filters, you don't have to do it every time. With things like cleaning that, it's probably a once a month, once every couple of months job. But again, just keep your eye on it, because you will find that the cleaner you keep it, then hopefully the performance of the drying should be a lot better. Number 10, and I know some of you will laugh at this or go, well, that's really obvious, but this one is to empty the container. What a lot of people do is they will wait until it's full and then go and empty it. But personally, I'd recommend emptying this after every load. And the main reason for that, especially if your tumble dryer has got a sensor built in, then tumble dryers don't really like to be interrupted. For example, if you open the door, or if you have to go and empty the water partway through the drying process, which often happens in our house, then what you'll find is that if the tumble dryer is sat there for a while, then it interrupts the sensor and the performance of the drying might not be quite as good as it can do. So if you empty the water container after every drying load, and normally it's just at the top there, so just go and empty that out. It's normally an easy process. Then what you'll find is that the whole drying process can go ahead. It's not going to be interrupted at all. If you have got a tumble dryer that has got a little hose on it, sometimes if you've got your tumble dryer sat next to, say, a washing machine, and if you've got a water outlet, a waste outlet, then that's recommended, because that means that you don't have to empty the container. Number 11, I suppose, is more of a tip to save you having to buy a new tumble dryer. If you keep overloading the tumble dryer, then what you can find is that the belt on it will break over the years. This is an example of a tumble dryer belt, and clearly somewhere along the line this has just snapped, and sometimes it can just be down to wear and tear, or more often than not it can be where it's been overloaded and it puts extra stress or extra strain on the belt itself. Now these are not that expensive to get, and depending on the brand, some of them can be quite easy to put a new belt on. The classic is if it's getting warm inside but the drum itself isn't rotating, then that's normally where the belt has gone. So that could be something to consider before you even go and buy a new one. While we're on the subject of maintenance and repairs, that leads quite nicely into number 12, about replacing the tumble dryer. Sometimes if you have the problem where it's not heating, so I know I just said about the drum not rotating, that's normally the belt, but if it's just not heating, then just check around the tumble dryer, because this could be a really useful tip. There may be a thermal cutout switch. Now what this will do is it's normally a little red switch. Sometimes it's on the back of the dryer, it could be at the bottom. Some of them don't have it, so I'm not promising that your tumble dryer has one. But sometimes if you just either flick the switch or press the button back in, it could be a situation that it's just got too hot. Again, if it's been overloaded, then it could have been on for too long. So just try and press the button or flick the switch, depending on which one it is. If it does it as a one-off, to press the button to enable it to go again, that's okay. If it does keep on doing it, then there may be more of a serious problem with it, and that's really where you need to get someone to look at your dryer. Now the final thing to look at is to clean the sensor within your tumble dryer. If you have got a tumble dryer where you've got the auto sense or sensor dryer as I was talking about earlier, then try and clean the sensor on the inside of the drum. Now what you'll find, okay, I know this particular dryer hasn't got one, but if you just put your hand in on the inside here, what you should find, you might find that there's either a little bulge, or just put your hand around, because you should be able to find the sensor. And again, another problem is that if it detects that it's not drying properly, so if it's either taken too long or if it's not drying for long enough, then it could just be that the sensor itself is dirty. So just get a damp cloth, just wipe it round, just wipe over the sensor, because you could find again that the performance of your drying should be a lot better. I hope you found that useful on some of the hints and tips to get the best out of your tumble dryer. Again, as I said earlier, all I normally say is please subscribe to my YouTube channel, just give us a quick thumbs up. I do ask for comments on the video as well, so if you enjoyed the video, please let me know. Just let me know what you think about the tumble dryer balls. I did ask for feedback on those earlier, whether you use them, whether you don't use them, and just what results you get. If I have missed something, if there is a hack or a tip that when you're using your tumble dryer, then let me know what you do as well, because this is it's not a final list. I'm sure there's many other things that people tend to do with tumble dryers to get the best performance out of it. Anyway, thanks for watching.